She has no idea, babe. She thinks she's lucky to have me. Once I get full access to the accounts, we won't need her at all. I was standing in the hallway of my own house, grocery bags cutting into my fingers, listening to my husband laugh into his phone like he'd already won something. The smell of the cologne he never used to wear hung in the air between us, sweet and sharp, like a warning I'd been too blind to notice. My heart was slamming against my ribs so hard I thought he might hear it from the kitchen. He kept talking, his voice low and warm, the way it used to sound when he talked to me. But those words weren't for me. They were about me. He was right about one thing. I had no idea, but not about what he thought. My name is Jolene. I'm 34 years old. I grew up in a small town about 40 minutes outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, the kind of place where everybody knows your business, and nobody has much money to speak of. My mother cleaned office buildings for a living. She'd come home smelling like bleach and floor wax, her hands cracked and dry, and she'd still make us dinner. My father left when I was 7. One morning he was there, and the next morning his side of the closet was empty. No note. No phone call. Just gone. I learned something important that year. Nobody was coming to save me. If I wanted a different life, I'd have to build it with my own 2 hands. So that's exactly what I did. I put myself through college studying business and finance. I worked the night shift at a call center to pay for textbooks and rent. I ate ramen 4 nights a week and told myself it was temporary. After graduation, I scraped together every dollar I had saved and started a small consulting firm. It wasn't glamorous. It was just me, a laptop, and a rented desk in a shared office space. But I worked harder than anyone I knew, and over 8 years, that tiny firm grew into a real company with real employees and real revenue. 3 years ago, I married Derek. He was charming and confident, a mid-level sales guy I met at a networking event downtown. He made me laugh until my stomach hurt. He opened doors for me and remembered how I liked my coffee. I thought I'd finally found my partner. When Derek lost his sales job about a year into our marriage, I didn't hesitate. I offered him a position at my company as a regional sales coordinator. Nothing fancy, but stable work with good pay. Here's the thing, though. I never made a big deal about owning the company. My CEO title was listed under my maiden name. I operated quietly behind the scenes because I didn't need attention. I needed results. I wasn't flashy. I didn't need people to know what I built, but I should have paid closer attention to the man sleeping next to me. If you've ever trusted someone with your whole heart and your whole business only to find out they didn't deserve either, subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment and tell me you're here. I'm reading every single one. Let's get into this. After I heard that phone call, I set the grocery bags down on the hallway floor, soft and careful so they wouldn't make a sound. I walked back outside and sat in my car for 20 minutes, just breathing. My hands were shaking, but I didn't go back inside and scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront him. I started watching. Over the next few days, everything I had been too busy or too trusting to notice came into focus like someone had cleaned a dirty window. Derek started staying late at the office for meetings that never appeared on any calendar. He bought new cologne, the expensive kind, the kind he never would have picked out for himself. He changed the password on his phone twice in 1 week. And at work, he walked around the office like he owned the building, greeting people with this new confidence that felt rehearsed, like he was practicing for a role he hadn't earned yet. Then the real trigger came. I went into the office for my monthly internal review. I always checked in with department heads to stay connected to what was happening on the ground. That day, my operations manager, Linda, pulled me into a side conference room. She looked nervous. She kept fidgeting with her pen. "I don't know how to tell you this," she said, "but Derek has been telling new hires that he's the one who runs things. He introduced himself to the new marketing team as the owner's right hand. basically the real boss. I kept my face still. I thanked Linda. I told her I'd handle it. Then I went back to my office and started digging. I pulled the security badge logs from the past 2 months and found something that made my stomach drop. Derek had been staying in the building after hours, sometimes past midnight. And he wasn't alone. The same badge was logging in right alongside his every single time. Megan, his secretary, the one he had personally requested to hire 6 months ago. I remember him saying she came highly recommended. Now I understood by whom. As CEO, I had administrative access to every company email account. I opened Derek's inbox and found the email chain that changed everything. Dozens of messages between him and Megan, stretching back months. Derek had been promising her a promotion to vice president. He talked about restructuring the company once he took over. And in one message that I will never forget, he wrote about me. She's smart with numbers but clueless about people. She won't even see it coming. By the time I get her to add me as co-owner, it'll be too late. Megan had written back, "Does she even know how boring she is? You deserve someone who actually matches your energy." And Derek replied with 5 words that burned through me like acid. "She's useful for now, that's all." I sat in my office with the door locked, the hum of the air conditioner the only sound in the room, and I read every single message. Tears ran down my face, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of recognition. I had handed my heart and my company to a man who saw me as nothing more than a stepping stone. He wanted to take over my company? Fine. Let him think he was winning. I'd let him walk right into the trap he was building for himself. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. Not because I was falling apart, but because I had to pretend everything was fine while watching my husband betray me in slow motion, one calculated move at a time. The first thing he did was come after the money. It started at dinner one Tuesday night. Derek poured me a glass of wine, gave me that smooth smile of his and said, "You know, Joe, I've been thinking. We're married. What's yours is ours. It just makes sense legally to put my name on the business accounts. It's a partnership move." I stirred my pasta and told him I'd think about it. He didn't like that answer. The next night, he brought it up again. And the night after that. Each time his tone got a little sharper. "Don't you trust me? What kind of marriage is this if you keep everything separate?" I kept stalling. I told him the accountant needed to review things first. I told him there was paperwork involved. I gave him just enough hope to keep him comfortable while I bought myself time. The second betrayal happened at a company team-building event we held at a restaurant downtown. The smell of garlic bread and grilled steak filled the room, and everyone was relaxed, laughing, enjoying the evening. Then Derek stood up during a casual toast. He held his glass high and said, "I've been pushing this team hard, and it shows. When I came on board, things were, let's say, a little disorganized." He glanced at me with a smirk. A few of the newer employees who didn't know I was the owner actually clapped. The ones who did know looked down at their plates. I felt the sting of being erased inside my own company, but I kept my face calm and clapped along with everyone else. Later, as people were leaving, I passed by the hallway near the restrooms and heard Derek talking to Megan. His voice was low, but I caught every word. "See? They already see me as the leader. She's just the quiet one in the background." Megan giggled. I pressed my back against the wall, fists clenched at my sides, and I let the anger settle deep into my bones where it could be useful. The third betrayal was the one that nearly broke me. Derek called my mother. My mother. The woman who spent 30 years cleaning other people's offices so I could have a shot at something better. He told her that I'd been struggling mentally and that he was worried about my ability to handle the business. He suggested I might need to step back for my health. That night, my mom called me. Her voice was soft and worried. Derek says you've been overwhelmed, honey. Maybe you should let him help more? The sound of her concern, twisted and manufactured by the man I married, made something inside me go very still. He had weaponized my own mother against me. But that stillness wasn't weakness. It was focus. I stopped crying entirely after that night. I started documenting everything. I screenshotted every email. I saved every badge log. I recorded every timestamp. I worked late, not because I was grieving, but because I was building something. Every time Derek smiled at me across the dinner table, I smiled back. But behind my eyes, I was building a case he'd never recover from. What Derek didn't know was that I hadn't just been collecting a few emails and hoping for the best. I had been methodically assembling a complete evidence file, organized by date, by category, by severity. Over 3 weeks, I gathered everything. Screenshots of the full email chain between Derek and Megan, including every mocking message about me. Security camera footage showing the two of them entering his office together after midnight on multiple occasions. IT logs showing Derek's repeated unauthorized attempts to access the company's financial systems. Attempts that were flagged automatically and quietly routed straight to my inbox. And then there was the recording. One night, Derek accidentally called my work phone instead of Megan's. He didn't realize the voicemail was running. For 2 full minutes, I listened to him talk to Megan about getting Jolene to sign over equity and how, once the papers are done, she won't have a leg to stand on. I saved that voicemail in 3 separate locations. Every move he made was being logged. Every password he tried. Every door he badged into after midnight. Every lie he typed into a company email address that belonged to me. He just didn't know it. I also made 2 very quiet phone calls. One to the company's legal counsel, who confirmed that Derek had 0 ownership claim, and one to a divorce attorney, who reviewed the prenup Derek had signed before our wedding. He'd laughed it off at the time, called it unnecessary, said he didn't care about money. He signed it without reading a single page. That prenup was ironclad. Derek had no legal claim to my business, my assets, or my future. He thought he was 3 moves ahead. He didn't realize the board was mine, the pieces were mine, and the game was already over. There was one person I trusted enough to help me finish this the right way. Her name was Patricia Kwan. She had been my business professor in college, the one teacher who saw something in the quiet girl who sat in the front row and took notes on everything. After I graduated, Patricia became my mentor. She helped me incorporate my company 8 years ago, reviewed my first contracts, and talked me off the ledge more than once when I thought the business might fail. Now she was a respected corporate attorney and board advisor with a reputation for being calm, precise, and absolutely ruthless when she needed to be. I called Patricia on a Sunday evening. I laid everything out: the emails, the affair, the fraud attempts, the voicemail. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then she said, "You built this from nothing, Jolene. Don't let a man with a borrowed title take it from you. But don't act out of anger. Act out of precision." Patricia got to work immediately. She helped me prepare a formal HR termination package for both Derek and Megan, fully documented with evidence of policy violations, misuse of company resources, and attempted financial fraud. She connected me with a colleague who specialized in divorce law, and that attorney confirmed everything. The prenup held. Derek's behavior gave me grounds for an at-fault divorce. I would owe him nothing. Meanwhile, Derek grew bolder by the day. He started telling coworkers he was about to be made partner. He took Megan to a client dinner and introduced her as the future VP of operations. And one afternoon, while I was off-site for a meeting, he started moving his things into my office. He rearranged the desk. He put his nameplate next to mine. When I saw it, later, he just shrugged and said, "Just making it more functional, babe." He had no idea that HR had already been briefed, that the legal documents were drawn and signed, that his termination was scheduled for the next company-wide meeting, which was exactly 6 days away. He was measuring the curtains in a house that was about to lock him out. The day of the quarterly meeting arrived on a Thursday morning. The conference room on the 3rd floor was set up with rows of chairs facing a small podium and a projection screen. 52 employees filed in with coffee cups and notebooks, expecting the usual updates on revenue and project timelines. Patricia Kwan sat near the front in a dark blazer, introduced to anyone who asked as a special guest advisor. Nobody questioned it. Derek walked in like he owned the room. He was wearing a new suit. He sat in the front row, leaned back, and winked at Megan, who was seated 3 rows behind him near the door. He turned to the colleague next, to him, and whispered loud enough for others to hear, "Watch! I might have a big announcement today." I stepped up to the podium. My hands were steady. The sound of shuffling papers and quiet conversation faded as people settled in. I thanked the team for a strong quarter. I mentioned a few wins, a few goals for the months ahead. My voice was calm and measured. Then I paused. I let the silence sit for just a moment. Before we move forward, I need to address something that affects the integrity of this company. My company. The room went completely still. I could hear the ventilation system humming above us. I clicked to the first slide. Derek's email appeared on the screen, projected in large, clear text for every person in the room to read. His words to Megan, displayed for all to see. "She's useful for now. That's all." Gasps moved through the room like a wave. Someone in the back whispered, "Oh my God." Derek's face went white. He leaned forward in his chair, mouth open, eyes darting between me and the screen. "Joe, what? What is this?" I didn't answer him. I clicked to the next slide, then the next. I read key excerpts aloud. His plans to take over the company. Megan's messages mocking me. The unauthorized access attempts to financial systems he had no clearance to touch. Each slide was worse than the last. The room was dead silent except for my voice. Then I turned and looked directly at him. "You told people you were the real boss. You told my mother I was mentally unfit. You tried to steal access to accounts you had no right to touch. And you did all of it while sleeping with an employee you hired specifically for this scheme." Derek shot to his feet, his chair scraping against the floor. "Babe, you're taking this out of context." Before he could say another word, Patricia stood. She buttoned her blazer and faced him with a calm that made the temperature in the room drop. "I'm Patricia Kwan, legal advisor to this company. Mr. Hale, you're being formally terminated for gross misconduct, misrepresentation of authority, and attempted financial fraud. Security will escort you out. You'll also be hearing from Ms. Jolene's divorce attorney by end of business today." Movement near the back of the room caught my eye. Megan was trying to slip out through the side door. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "Megan, your termination letter is in your inbox. Don't bother checking your work email. It's already been deactivated." She froze with her hand on the door handle. Every head in the room turned to look at her. She didn't say a word. She just walked out. Derek was shaking. His face had gone from white to red. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "You planned all of this?" I held his gaze. "No, Derek, you planned all of this. I just documented it." 2 security guards appeared at the conference room door. Derek looked around the room, searching for a single sympathetic face. He didn't find one. He walked out without another word. The door clicked shut behind him. For a long moment, the room was silent. Then, slowly, someone near the middle started clapping. It spread. Quiet at first, then louder, until the whole room was filled with the sound of people who finally understood exactly who had been running things all along. The divorce was finalized in 2 months. The prenup held up perfectly. Derek got nothing from the business, and only minimal assets from the marriage. His attorney tried to negotiate. Mine didn't need to. Derek and Megan lasted about 3 weeks after the money, and the status disappeared. Turns out their connection wasn't as deep as those emails made it seem. Megan moved out of state. Derek, now completely unhireable in our industry because the fraud documentation followed him everywhere, moved back in with his parents. The man who once told people he was basically the real boss was now sleeping in his childhood bedroom. My company didn't just survive, it grew. After that meeting, employees came up to me one by one. Several told me privately that they'd always known something was off about Derek, but didn't know how to say it. The trust between me and my team deepened in ways I hadn't expected. We had our best quarter ever that fall. I repaired things with my mother, too. It took time. She called me crying after she learned the truth. "I should have known," she said. "You were always the strong one." I told her it wasn't her fault. Derek was a professional liar. He fooled me, too. I started mentoring young women entrepreneurs after that. Women who reminded me of the girl I used to be, sitting in a shared office with a laptop and a dream and no safety net. I told them the same thing I'm telling you now. I didn't lose a husband. I removed a parasite. And the company he tried to steal? It had its best year yet. Because the real boss never left. If someone you trusted ever tried to take credit for what you built, your work, your business, your life, I see you. That betrayal cuts different when it comes from inside your own home. Subscribe to this channel and tell me your story in the comments. I'm reading every single one, and I want you to know what you built is yours. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And remember, your worth is not determined by the people who failed to see it. It's determined by what you do when you finally see it yourself.